Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Well, there are several confusing bird identification issues, especially when you first get started bird watching. The one that we're getting a lot of questions right now is about the hairy versus the downy woodpecker. And this is an absolute classic because those birds do look so similar. Thought I would address this one today and let you give you the tips that I use to help separate these out. If you have seen me do other videos like the house finch versus purple finch and mockingbird versus loggerhead shrike, and there's several ones that out there, similar looking birds that people get confused. You've heard me say one of my rules is if you, in this case, if you think it's a hairy woodpecker, it's probably a downy woodpecker. Because hairy woodpeckers, and in this picture, both of these by Mary Nemecek, a great way to compare them on the same feeder, same size. We got a male downy on the left with the red on the head and a female hairy on the right. Just one wonderful comparison shots here. But in this photograph, a couple of photographs illustrate how much bigger the hairy woodpecker is than the downy. Usually your downies are much more common, so you see lots of the downies coming and you're visiting your feeders, and then you'll see one that looks a little large, and you'll think, oh, that might be a hairy. And then a hairy comes in and lands, you go, whoa, now that's a hairy woodpecker. They're quite a bit different. So, but if you don't have the two to compare size-wise, like in this photo, it gets to be a lot trickier. So here's the rules that we use, bird watchers use whenever you learn to start sorting these guys out. Okay, obviously the size is quite a bit different, but physical features that don't change. The downy woodpecker has a tiny little stubby bill. Look at the size of that bill, and one of the things we do, if you can imagine taking that bill and pushing it back into his head, it's not even half the thickness of his head. The hairy woodpecker has a big, stout bill. I mean, that bill versus that bill's bit for business, as we say. So the length of that bill pushed back into his head is almost as thick as that bird's head is. Really, really good comparison when you're seeing it, because you can almost always see the head and the bill comparison. You give it a chance to turn, and so you get a really good look at it. But that's really, really a pretty clear-cut defining difference between the two. Now, if you've read, any of our old articles in the newsletters, Ruth wrote an article years ago called "Downies Have Dots," and what she was referring to there is the outer tail feathers, the white outer tail feathers of hairies and downies. Hairy woodpeckers' outer white tail feathers are pure white, whereas the outer tail feathers on the downy have black dots. Like there's 1, 2, 3 black dots in there. And this picture, if you were looking at it straight at its back, you can maybe see those dots a little bit better. But that is a really good field mark for identifying these. And sometimes, if you're seeing, especially the bird high up in the tree, the tail is even more obvious than the bill is. So that's another good field mark to use between those two. So the hairy downy question is confusing, and I definitely understand it. But when you're identifying birds, when you're separating birds out, color, remember our rule, color is one of the last things you ever want to use. Look at physical features that don't change, and that is things like bill length. You might have a downy with a little bit bigger bill, but it won't ever be anything that approaches the thickness and of a hairy woodpecker. So the woodpeckers are coming in nice right now. I think we had a lot of acorns this fall, so really the woodpeckers were pretty slow coming in early, but now they're starting to show up. I had a hairy at the house a couple days ago, so first one I've seen in a while. Be on the lookout for them. Also red-bellied woodpeckers, if you're lucky, red-headed woodpeckers. The flickers are really active right now, and even I've had some reports of pileateds at people's bird feeders. So keep an eye out. Woodpeckers are great. If there's any other confusing identification issues that you'd like me to address, send in those. Get Mark at backyardbirdcenter.com is my email, and we can sort through them for you. I can repost if you don't. If you want me to repost it, I can. But you can also search our website for that house finch versus purple finch identification under my bid just like this, because that is also, the purple finches are invading right now. We saw a good flock of them yesterday, and so people get that ID confusion. You can always look that up on our website. So good idea for a program. Thanks for sending that in. Send in more. Give us a like. Please share. If you go to our YouTube channel, give me a subscribe. That helps if all these videos are on there. So thanks so much. Until then, come on, let's talk birds.
2, 1.
Would you like to learn more about wild birds? You might want to hit that subscribe button.